Hey everyone, welcome back to Oh Brother Comics. I'm Chris,
Matt.
and we're here to talk about Jupiter's Legacy, the new Netflix series that came out. And really, we're here to talk about its cancellation and our kind of feelings on it. I know, Matt, you've had a lot of feelings about this show. You went through and you read the comics because of it, just to kind of catch up. And like for me, I ended up binging them yesterday, while I was kind of feeling down after the vaccination kind of thing, gave me some time to do it. So I'm going to kind of speak about what I saw at the show. I've never read the comics. I don't know too much about it. I do know that it is Mark Millar's story. He's also known for books like Kick-Ass. So I've always enjoyed those. And it's kind of interesting that Netflix like canceled the show after one season. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think, man? What?
I'd say interesting is one word. I'd say another word to use would be stupid and idiotic and fucking lame. Those two words, but you can hyphenate it. Uh, okay, this is what I'm gonna say is like with the cancellation, I'm not actually surprised about the cancellation. Um, but I think as I would say as like just say I don't know an owner of Netflix, not really into comics, like someone like that, like
Mm,
looking for a good show, I could see why this wasn't really necessarily the show for them, and I could see like why. Um, I would say as like someone who enjoys comics and likes heroes and superhero stuff, um, and I think it's like a huge bummer because I think there's a lot to get into. This isn't going to be a super long video, but we're going to get into it. I think as a comic book fan, I think it's disappointing that they decided to cancel it.
right, right. Because with Netflix, I believe they had purchased the Millar verse back in, I believe it was 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and like you had mentioned, a lot of these different studios kind of thing have been picking up these comic book rights to these shows because of
Yeah,
the height and the popularity of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everyone wants to get in on this kind of superhero comic book, boom that we're having right now.
oh,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I guess we should just kind of dive into the show a little bit. Um,
yeah.
Again, this will be probably some spoilers going through here, so just be aware. Um,
Well, this channel will always have spoilers, but
well, that's probably true. But yeah, Matt, go ahead and let's start off. Go ahead and start us off on kind of like what the story is and what some of your likes were.
sure. So getting into the show, again, just like a very general overview. Um, I did like the show. It like as the person who I read Jupiter's Legacy and I read Jupiter's Circle. Um, because of the show, I wanted to like know more about it. And again, I just want to say like Image, like this is all from Image Comics. Like Image is killing it, man. Everything Image is gold. And so I was like super stoked, and it's like super easy to catch up on. Like Jupiter's Circle comic run was 12 issues. Jupiter's Legacy comic run was 10 issues. So all in all, it's like very short.
Pretty easy read, seems like.
Oh yeah, and you could binge the show in a day or two. you know.
Honestly, it was really easy
Um,
to get through.
yeah.
My big issue with it, honestly, um, and maybe it was because sorry, I'm still kind of getting over the vaccination, but um, maybe my
Oh, you're
mind
good,
wasn't
man.
in the right space to catch some of these things while watching the show, but I was more confused with some of it. And
Yeah.
this might sound weird, but I didn't realize that they were jumping back and forth in different time periods, telling the two different
Gotcha.
stories about the same characters.
Yep.
I didn't put together that they were like the same people. I thought they were just telling two separate stories that were coming to it, like an end kind of thing. But once I
Oh, gotcha.
figured it out, because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know, I'm really not feeling the superhero parts of it, because
Mhm.
they really it was you have the story about the Union, which is like essentially this version's Justice League.
Yeah.
And this is in the future where the Union has basically kind of fractured, and the members that are left are just trying to hold on to what they have. And the
Yeah.
main character, sorry, what was his name? Utopian. I think
Yeah,
is was
Utopian.
Utopian.
Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon. Um,
Yeah.
his whole thing is he's really struggling with the code. The whole Batman thing. Like we don't kill at all. It's
Mhm.
what makes us who we are. We keep that level of composure to us. It's what
Yeah.
what's what keeps us from going over to the evil side. Um, and a lot of that story is just them going back and forth on whether or not, is that an old, rule because it fit the
Mhm.
times back then because these guys are old, like they're back
Yeah.
from the 20s and stuff. I think it was
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's kind of cool. It's like the feel of like the baby boomers versus the millennials, like
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
the changing of the changing of ideals and principles, and
yeah, because
like conservative versus the progressive. And I think that's a cool element. And speaking to that is, I think that's something I enjoyed is like you have the Justice League, from DC, but like
Mhm.
now you're seeing like all these new kind of like spin-offs of that Superman Justice League idea, like the boys, like they're kind of versions of all these different ideas of it, and
Mhm.
Jupiter's Legacy, like man, and I'm loving it, dude. Like I love seeing these different versions of Superman.
Well, it's because it takes
And
it to another level that Marvel and DC don't get to. So you
yeah.
don't really get to them murdering or destroying. I mean, don't get me wrong, the comics can get gritty, and like for
Oh yeah.
DC's like Blackest Night, I love that book and how gritty it is. But um, yeah, when you get into indie kind of stories, they take it to another level.
Oh yeah, for
That
sure, man.
that
Like
is a different way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've never, like I've always appreciated Superman, but I've never been like the huge Superman fan.
Hmm.
But with these type of shows, like I love like Utopian and like Omni Man and like these dudes where they're like way more, I don't know, just more humanizing, and I don't know, just like
Right.
it's just cool,
You
just a
can
cool spin.
you almost can connect with them a little bit more than you do with
Yeah.
like the Marvel and DC characters. It's more personable traits about them, and even like
Yes.
Utopian's wife had stated to him, it's like
Mhm.
sometimes you forget like we're humans too, you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
but yeah, anyway, kind of getting back to the
So
show, um,
yeah.
I really, really, really liked the story when they were younger, like when they were first getting their
Mhm.
powers with the whole Sheldon thing, and how his father, killed himself, and then he ended up seeing him, and he had these visions, and they had to get to, this island, and
Yeah.
then you end up seeing that that's where they get their powers.
Yeah.
They end up solving this riddle, and they end up on Jupiter,
Yeah.
where there's some being or cosmic something of nature there that deems them worthy and gives them the powers, and they become the first six superheroes.
Yeah.
I thought that story was really cool, and if they would have led with that, I think it would have made the show a bit smoother. Because I
Yeah.
think that's where I had a problem is that, and the reason I should think I should throw this out. One of the reasons why Netflix ended up canceling the show was because of the Nielsen ratings, which all TV shows are basically subject to. It's the system that we use here in the States that basically judges audience size and stuff for the shows, and it just didn't meet Netflix standards. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it could have. I really think it could have. I just think they kind of went about it the wrong way in the show, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just me, but yeah, I just felt I was more confused with what the show was going on, because even
Yeah. I
even
could
when
see
they
that.
they jump back and forth, like they even throw in like the whole, I don't know what it is, but no freaking child in this show likes their parents. Everyone like hates their parents in this.
Yeah.
So, and it's just
Yeah. That's pretty consistent with the comic.
and I don't know. It was jarring to me, and
Yeah.
it was just a little confusing. I think that was my take on it. I don't know. How do you feel
Yeah.
about
So yeah, you said a lot of stuff there. Like my brain's
it?
going
Sorry.
crazy right now. No, no, it's all good. I'll try to stay. I think this might turn into a longer video. So, but the way the show did it. So first and foremost, I want to say like between the show and the comics, you don't need the two to enjoy the other. Like they're done so differently
Mhm.
that like you can almost enjoy them in their own thing. Like it tells kind of the same story, but it's like it's really so different. Like
Mhm.
so I think what the show tried to do was you had Jupiter's Legacy and you had Jupiter's Circle. And Jupiter's Circle, and I'm talking about the comics.
Right, right.
So Jupiter's Circle was kind of the story. It doesn't really go into like the origin story so much. Like it's kind of like just a story of like it would be like them as the Justice League, like them as the Union fighting crime back in their day, in like the Utopian and Walter and George and their wife, whatever her name is. I can't remember. Whatever. But like it's all them as the Justice League basically, like back in the 40s or whatever.
Right.
And then you have Jupiter's Legacy, which is the present day with the like now they're grown up, they're older, utopians, all the white hair and the beard.
Oh,
He's got
interesting.
like yeah, he's got the grown like I don't know if they're like they might be adult children
So in the
at this
comics,
point.
did they start with that whole younger story where they got their powers?
No, so the
Oh no.
first it was Jupiter's Legacy,
Okay,
and that was like modern day.
gotcha.
And then later on, they came out with the prequel series, Jupiter's Circle. But like even then, like I want to say, like the commenters are probably going to bash me if I'm wrong horrifically, but like it doesn't really have an origin story. Like I think it alludes to the island. I think it might even show it in Jupiter's Legacy, like in a panel, but it doesn't. Like the show breaks that down. So what the show
Okay,
does, so what I think what the show tried to do was it tried to have the two timelines going of the present day and the past.
right.
But like what the show did is it went even further back to an origin story where
Mm,
like the comics didn't even really bother with that.
I
Um,
see.
yeah, it just was like they had the powers and like that was kind of it. Like
I see.
here's them as superheroes. So I think they tried to kind of like I don't know. It's a weird feel because the show had so much going on and yet it was very slow paced
Hmm.
with a lot. So it's kind of like messy, I feel like.
Definitely.
I still enjoyed the story. Like they had elements
Totally.
in there that I like loved. Like Sheldon being haunted by his like dead dad. Wasn't like
That
I don't
was,
even think that was in the comic or anything, but like I love that aspect.
yeah.
Like the dad haunting him was like so cool. Um, but then in the comics, it was like it was fast, like so fast, and so like the show like doesn't it only covers issues 1 and 2 of Jupiter's Legacy.
That's
Like
nuts. That they
yeah,
only used a
like
couple like that.
yeah, like everything that happens, like, and you can argue it's not like there's nothing of Jupiter's circle really, except for there's really nothing.
Mm,
Like they jump to the past, but it's like before Jupiter's circle would have been happening.
I see.
But yeah, dude, like, and then the comics is like when like issue 3 is when shit hits the fan, and that's what I was waiting for all season. And then Jupiter's or issue 4 jumps like almost like around 10 8 to 11 years, like 10 years into the future, like like boom, like snap, like that's it, like in the future, like you know what I mean. So it's like 1 2 3 10 years later about or whatever,
Mm,
issue 4. um
huh.
it's crazy, it moves so quick, but it's like it's just streamlined, it's simple, like it's not messy, it's just like it's easy to follow. And I think that's where the show got a little too complicated. I think they tried too much, but and yet it still felt kind of like slow paced.
Yeah, they
Because
really drew out that whole Black Star thing. And
yeah,
like that felt like it was just going on forever. And like it
oh yeah,
wasn't a
dude,
huge part, I felt. There was a lot of
yeah,
filler for me into this. It's like, okay, we didn't need all that. I didn't need the whole background of like his daughter,
yeah,
snorting shit she found off the street because she's such a
yeah,
a drug head right now.
yeah.
Like,
And so I do like that because this again, huge spoilers, and I'm even spoiling it for you, Chris. Like, but you're gonna have to not mind because we're making this video.
all good, all good.
So Chloe is like the hero. Like she is the story. She is the chosen one. Like,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. So Chloe is like the chosen one. Um, and so and that's what's like really cool is so I like the show they had that. Like she was the drug addict, she was like the black sheep of the
Hmm.
family. You had the son who was dying, like just desperate for his father's approval.
Right.
The utopian Sheldon, he was very ultra conservative, the code, which is like don't kill and don't interfere with like world governments. Like they're just there as like
Yeah.
servants
We don't
to
abuse our power. We're here to help.
yeah. and they're only I was gonna say servants to the world, but they're like servants just to the U.S. Like
Mhm.
that's all they were, like USA. Um, and so it was just, yeah, and the show like never, and that's what I'm disappointed about is like the show never even got to get to that, you
Right.
know?
And they left on
Uh,
such a cliffhanger. It's like I want to know more. Like I'm interested
yeah,
in the show from what I've seen. I think they could
yeah,
clean it up in the next seasons because like I don't feel. I know I've seen some people online kind of compare it to Marvel's Inhumans,
yeah.
and I can't agree with that comparison because Marvel's Inhumans was the dumpster fire train wreck of a show. It was just so bad. The CG was bad. The acting was
Like never
bad.
even
Like,
heard
come
of it.
on, Medusa's like weakness is a fucking hair clippers. Come on, like,
Jesus, that
it's
sounds terrible.
it was really bad, and like I can understand why that got cut after one season. This, on the
Yeah,
other hand, I thought had potential, like you said,
yeah,
and it's interesting to hear how the comics go and what they put into the show because I think the parts of the show that I enjoyed the most are what aren't in the comics.
yeah,
The stuff that they
yeah,
came up with, the whole how
yeah.
they got their
No,
powers, like I love
and
that part.
and that's like the shame of it too. Is like Netflix killed it. Like honestly, dude. Like I really can't say like what I liked more. Like I like between the show and the comics. Like if I put them on a scale, like
Hmm.
I love how they did each of them in their own way. You know, like
Right.
with other stuff, like Invincible, like comics all day, like way better than the show. Show's amazing, comics is better, but the scale's like boop. But like with this type of thing, like it was just the way each one was handled. Like I like them both. Like I can't choose. Um, between all of it, I would say Jupiter's Circle is better than Jupiter's Legacy, like the comic series. Like, I like Jupiter's Circles better. Um, but um, but yeah, man, like it's just a shame because yeah, like the whole point of it, like it just never even got there. It never like they like so the show they made Skyfox. They kind of built the whole thing to be like, oh, Skyfox is the bad guy. He's the ultimate bad guy and he's coming back.
And
Right?
that's a good point you bring up. Skyfox was such a weird thing they added in.
Yeah,
It was just I don't know. Like they kind
yeah.
of
But
touched on him, but then they used him at the end as like he was the overarching villain,
yeah,
and
yeah. But then like at the very end, they tied it all up that it was like George
yeah,
uh, was like kind of like had everything, and like he killed his daughter, and like again, I loved how they did all that. Like I loved how they did all that in the show.
So
Um,
what's that about? We're like, yeah,
so
that thing, because that's the cliffhanger they left us on.
yeah,
It's like,
so
why is his
George,
brother doing that?
so you got George and Walter. Walter is the brother of Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
George is the best friend. He becomes Sky Fox and kind of like the ultimate villain of the Union. He like
Is he
breaks
Sky
out.
Fox, or it's not the best friend? It was the guy that they found off the boat. I thought was Sky Fox because
Uh,
he had that
no,
item that allowed him to transport, and that's why his son has it. Right?
no. So that's Blue Bolt. I think
That's
his name
Blue
was.
Bolt. Oh,
Blue
okay.
Bolt was like one of the members that had that. George was the best friend. He was the guy that like lived in the big house, had all the like eggs. They kind of like he always had
Right,
that
right.
like
His best
that
friend.
song.
So how
Yeah.
does well, I guess I'm confused because the guy that Chloe is seeing is the son of
Touch.
Sky Fox, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And he has that item that allows him to
Yes.
transport.
So in the comic, it made it sound like I don't think that was actually Blue Bolts. Like George just happened. He's like, oh, that's a cool device, and just like got some spare parts and made one out of a flashlight,
Oh, really?
and
Oh,
like and
okay.
gave it to his kid. Yeah. And like I loved in the show how they made it like anytime he's like, take me to dad, it takes him to a strip joint as like the
Oh,
ultimate joke.
okay. So
Like,
see that's like nods to the comic fans that have read it. Okay, they would
yeah.
pick that up.
Yeah. So that's what kind of like they all like every character in the Union got those like Superman
Their
abilities,
abilities,
flying,
yeah,
vulnerability. Like they're all
telekinesis.
strong, but like, Utopian's like the strongest. But then like what some of them got all of that, but got telekinesis, or they got like you know, the ability to make gadgets, or like
Hmm.
they got super speed, or whatever it is, or Blue Bolt got the device to teleport.
Right.
Um, so, but they're all like basically as strong as like Superman, you know, and things like that. But then other people just got other aspects.
I gotcha.
But yeah, so, and that's where it goes, is like Chloe and Hutch kind of become the good guys. And they even have a kid, which you'll never know it now. If you just watch the show, they had
Oh,
a kid
really?
named Jason. Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's like really cool. Um, and then um, yeah, dude. So if without season two, and again, that's where between issue 3 and issue 4 of Jupiter's Legacy, like jump like whatever it is, around 10 years. Like he comes in as like an 8 or 11 year old, like somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Um, and man, issue 3, like just read issue 3, and you're good, and then you will understand. Everyone watching this, like read issue 3 of Jupiter's Legacy, volume 1, and like you understand why I'm disappointed, because issue 3 hits hard, bro.
Really?
Like that's where, you know, so Walter, his brother, Sheldon's brother, like he convinces his son, and I can't remember his like superhero name off the top of my head. I have to like find
Utopian
it, but
Junior.
yeah, well, it's called Utopian Junior. He has a name, but he's in there somewhere. Or Paragon, maybe? No, I don't know. Whatever. uh, he convinces him to kill his dad. Like the Union all turn on Utopian and the mom, and Chloe, but Chloe gets away, saves her, like teleporting away and stuff. And it's brutal, bro. Like Brainwave is Walter. He goes after the mom and like gets in her head. He basically freezes them in place, and they kind of do that in the show
Yeah.
against Black Star.
They
And
did it
then
on
like when
Black
the parent,
Star, and they did it on his daughter.
yeah, oh, he does it on his daughter. But he does that to the mom, and then when it goes back to reality, like the is freaking impaled by all the freaking, it's brutal, dude. Um, but then so yeah, but then the son goes after the dad with like I don't know, 100 superhero character, like superhuman characters fighting him, and he just does like the Superman laser eyes like into like his dad's eyes, just like burns his face off, and he's dead.
Interesting. So,
And
okay, they kind of nodded to that in the show where he's like, "I don't have even lasers in my eyes, Dad," and they're like, "You will, kid, or you will, son."
yeah,
Right.
and he definitely gets them. So
He
yeah,
seems
so
like,
there's
and I don't know what it is, but it seems like in all these kind of superhero shows, especially with like characters like Superman, their
yeah,
kids are almost like the Gohan kind of
yeah,
thing. It's like they are way stronger than what their father is, but they have to
yeah,
like snap to trigger
yeah,
it in kind of thing. Otherwise, they're
yeah,
just kind of little pansies off to the side.
yeah. And so what the show did beautifully, and the comics was like there was no secret. It was so quick, it just happened. But like in the show, what it did so beautifully was like it's like, okay, you got Black Star, but then there's a looming villain who we come to find out is Sky Fox, and obviously it feels like the son is gonna like take the reins eventually and be the hero of the day, and like where does Chloe fit in and Hutch? I don't know, and like, and but then at the end they kind of give you that thing with Walter, where he kills his daughter. It's like, oh shit, this guy's really fucked up. But then that's it. So I think it paints this picture of like, I don't know, it puts the audience in like the wrong path, but in a fun way. And then it leaves you with cliffhanger of like, what everything I thought was wrong, what is going on?
Well, and we found out that
Um,
Skyfox was just oh gosh, it was just there to put him off, kind of thing. It
yeah,
was
like
a red herring kind of thing,
yeah. And
because
so
it was what's
go
his
ahead,
name? Is it Walter, the brother?
Walter,
Yeah,
yeah, and
he's
he's called Brainwave Walter, yeah,
Brainwave. Okay, yeah. It turns out he's the villain behind all this.
yeah, he's fucked up, dude. Like in the comic, after like the son kills the dad, Walter's like, he convinces him that like, hey, you're ready to take the reins. Like your dad's like, he's too old school. Like he's losing his mind. Blah blah blah. Whatever. And he's like, it ends with like he's like, what do we do next? And the son's like, I don't know. What do you think we should do, well, uncle? And so like it just played into it. And that was like the beautiful thing of the comics is, so Walter, like even in the show, you see George and Walter, they like always butt heads, they never get along. Like and in the comics it goes so much deeper, like they're always antagonizing each other. um Brainwave, what happens is so George falls in love with some chick,
Mm-hmm.
and then Walter uses his mind powers to convince her that she's actually in love with like him, and takes his girl. But then so Sky Fox naturally like accuses him of that, but then he denies it, and Utopian always takes his brother's side, and so it's always kind of like, and so that's just like one big element of like the personal like qualm, but that like kind of helps push them out. But then it's also just like they're so focused, like the union is focused on how do they make America better, but Walter is kind of focused on like how do I make the world better. Like he wants to help everybody. Like at one point he even kidnaps like the vice president to like to get America out of Vietnam, I want to say. Like he's like, of course I'm not gonna like when he's talking to the vice president, he's like, of course I'm not gonna kill you, like I'm not psycho. But he just wanted to like at least like just send the message of like, hey, like Vietnam is wrong, like let's get our troops out of there, like all this like communism versus democracy, like it's all just political, whatever it is. Like he just wanted to get the conversation.
Yeah, cue the Joker in it's not about the money, it's about sending the message.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like he wasn't the Joker, and like that's what like they wanted to paint him as.
Well, and I think the show did a good job about that, because they did reference in there that that's why Sky Fox went rogue. That he felt that the code was outdated, and the way villains were challenging them now and being as brutal as villains are, killing and just threatening, that it was putting more superheroes in harm's way than helping. And so they needed to basically break the code.
Yeah, and another level to that is he saw Walter was a douchebag, and he saw that he was always going to manipulate Sheldon, the Utopian, that always had the final say of what they were going to do. So you know what I mean. Like no matter what, like he saw Walter will always had his like hands on the helm, like and it basically made Utopian was the boss. Mm-hmm. But who enforced kind of what Walter manipulated him into, what he wanted. And so he saw that, and he would call it out, and like Sheldon would always take Walter's side. So like it just constantly was like gonna push George away.
And that's interesting. So now that I know that, and seeing the portions of the show that I really liked, they did a really good job at giving you that sense of feeling between all of their relationships throughout the island, and how they're always just nitpicking on each other and just letting it all out, kind of thing. Yeah. So okay, that makes a lot more sense. And now that I know that, it's I kind of wish they did a second season, because I want to see where it goes.
And that's what I thought, man. I thought season 1 was gonna end with Utopian dying. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, okay, they're gonna have to like within the first episode, like there's gonna be the manipulation between the son and the uncle, and then episode 2, because they got to move this along like the comics. It was like boom, 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 and so then I was like, okay, I can accept the fact, because that's the whole story. Like that is what like Jupiter's Legacy is about. It is that whole event and how it moves forward. And so when I didn't get the death of Utopian in season 1, and I was like, I can wait for it to be the season opener for the oh shit, like this is gonna be a crazy like roller coaster ride. And now that we lost that, sucks. And another thing is like in the comics, Sky Fox is awesome, dude. Like I love Sky Fox, and then his relationship with Jason, I think Jason which would be his grandson, with Chloe and Hutch had a kid. Their relationship is really cool. Like it started like Jason is not scared to like put him in his place and call him on his bullshit. Like constantly calls him like a bad dad for leaving Hutch, and like, and they just kind of they have a fun back and forth.
So, does he come back? Because it's not in the show. They kind of reference that they killed him.
No, he just like they just can't find him.
Oh, because
Like
I
he
want to
just
say, well, maybe in the mine scene, and he tells him that like, um, you guys beat me to a pulp.
yeah. I think in the show I don't recall them ever confirming that they killed him. I always and again like sometimes the show and the comics blur my mind, but like I think they always, even in the show, they just said like they couldn't find him. Like I think like Sheldon would say things like if he doesn't want to be found, he won't be found, kind of thing. Or maybe it was his son. Or no, because even in the show, like Sheldon and Hutch were looking for him. He's like, "Take me to your dad," and then he tried to, and they end up in the strip joint.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so yeah, I just didn't catch those parts.
Yeah, so I think they all know he's like in hiding. Um, and so yeah, with the show, I'm trying to think in the comics. I don't think like Skyfox had anything to do with like Black Star, like he did in the show. But like, so because I know he was like in there, like he was in Walter's mind with the mom, and like Walter planted all this evidence to frame him. So like that was kind of like weird in the show how they kind of brought Skyfox in that way. Maybe I'd have to rewatch it a little bit to see how they actually like, tied Skyfox into that. But in the comic, it's just like the world goes to shit. Like the son becomes in charge, and then Walter's still kind of manipulating, but he kind of gets to the point where he's just like ultimate power corrupts ultimately. You know, kind of idea. Like he's just in charge. He calls the shots. He's like king of the world, basically.
And is this Utopian Son or is this Walter?
This is Utopian Son.
Okay, so he almost becomes like the Superboy Prime.
Yeah, like he kind of just becomes like the ultimate dictator of the world.
Yeah, or like the injustice side of it.
Yeah, and so Walter, it's kind of like he kind of loses. I would say he doesn't have that same grip that he had like on his brother, being able to like manipulate kind of decisions. He's still kind of there, and he whispers in like the ear of Sheldon and all that. But I think he just he knows like to where the line is and like lets the son like run the show. But then that's what the show is like. Chloe and Hutch. Actually, it's Jason. I think it's Jason who like ultimately looks for Skyfox, like goes to the moon or something. I can't remember, but that's the show is like they're looking for Skyfox, and then they find like a handful of people to kind of be like the resistance to go stand up against like the sun and the new like union that enforces the world and whatever he wants. And that's something I want to touch on too, real quick. I know we're probably way over what we're like the goal was, but like so the constant banter between Walter and George, Skyfox and Brainwave, in the way that like Brainwave stole Skyfox's girl and constantly did him wrong, and like even at one point in the comics, like Skyfox comes back to the Union after all this, even after like kidnapping the vice president and doing all this shit, like he comes back to the Union with open arms. But then Walter, like he even goes to Walter, like Brainwave, and he's like, "Hey man, like I'm sorry for being such a douche all these years. Like I'm sorry for being a jerk and kind of a bully. I'm sorry for you accusing my wife. Like obviously, like I was a superhero. Like that's going to be a hard relationship. I'm always going to be gone and busy, blah, 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 whatever." Like, and Walter's like, "Oh, it's cool." And then like, "But by the way, I did it. I stole it from you with my powers and fucked you over," like just to piss him off. And Skyfox like beats the living shit out of him until the rest of the Union come over, because Skyfox can beat the shit out of Brainwave. Like in his mind, like he's more powerful. Like Walter can't get in his head. Like he can't get in the head of Utopian. Like those are like the two people he can't in the comics he can't really affect. And so they like so again he's kicked out and banished, and and then that's when he goes into his exile, into later on the legacy when they get him back. So with all of that history, like as a fan, I think anyone who's a fan of the comics is like rooting for Skyfox. Like they are, like I loved him. I loved his character, and even in the show, like I liked him. They kind of make him like this kind of douchebag. Like, oh, I can see how this guy's a villain. Um, but then like I liked his character and everything, and so in the comics, like you get that where the kind of resistance, the rebels, whatever, come in to fight, and Skyfox is leading the charge, and you get that moment of Skyfox versus Brainwave. You're like, oh fuck, like, like here comes the fucking beatdown we all want, and you kind of got that in the show. Like he beats the shit out of Brainwave, like in his own mind or whatever.
Right.
And you kind of get that, but so in
But
the
I feel
show,
that's all fake now too. That was all a show.
yeah, and I think that was all Brainwave.
That was all.
It had to be.
Yeah, it had to be.
It had to be.
But yeah,
had to be.
I mean, they did insinuate that Skyfox,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's
because even
pretty
his daughter was like, "I know what you did."
right,
blah, blah,
and
blah.
that's why I thought he killed her.
Yeah,
Because
and that's why
that's what God, the kids in this show kind of bug me. But I think from what I'm getting from what you're telling me with the comics is that it really the show is just such, it's like they only took this very small portion of the story and gave us a full season, and what is really the meat and potatoes of the show just needs a little bit more to really hook us and get us in, and to really get into the story, where it sounds like utopian in this stuff. It's just the speed bump. It's really when his son takes over, and then that's when the story happens. So
like that's
maybe
the story.
that's where Netflix kind of maybe jumped the gun a little too early on this.
Yeah, but then like what I was saying with George and Walter is, so you get the showdown that you get in the book and everyone wants, and you're like, oh man, like fucking George is getting his ass kicked, and it's gonna be so good. Or Walter, sorry, is gonna get his ass kicked, and it's gonna be so good. But in the like, I even like texted you and Nick. So I was pissed. Like Skyfox just gets killed by Walter. You just like, Walter's like, you spent all this time in hiding, and like I spent training or something to that effect, and he just like lights him on fire with his mind, and he's like dead. And I'm like, that can't be true. It took like a panel, like 2 panels, and that was it. Like not even a whole page. And like Skyfox dies. Spoiler alert. And then
see, now I'm getting confused.
I
think we're jumping all around.
No. So I was telling about like that clash of Walter in the comics, like why this is another reason why I was bummed that the show got canceled, because I wanted to see that live action clash. But like in the comic, and I got a point to all this. In the comic, it was like such a letdown that I remember texting you and Nick that I like went on like Instagram and found Mark, how do you say it, Millar's like page, and I wrote him a message. I'm like, dude, was this possible? Like, I know you won't see this, but hey, like Mark, if you see this now, check your Instagram messages. But like, bro, how is it possible that Skyfox just went out like that? Like, how? And that was a letdown. And I think something I was looking forward to, besides like the big oh shit moment of the son killing the dad, like was like kind of a redemption. Even if Skyfox is gonna die, like something better than that. Like if you're gonna like rewrite that, like that moment, like let there be a fight, like something, like get him ganged up on, because that was like, as much as I loved all the comics, like that was like one of the biggest letdowns, like top 10 all time of death, like letdown deaths, or just outcomes. And so I was looking forward for Netflix to rewrite that moment.
Interesting.
To something, anything would be better. Literally, like my little 7-year-old daughter could write something better than that. So, like, So that was another bummer. So those are the two things: the death of Utopian and then the death of Skyfox. I wanted those moments in season 2, or if it went to season 3 or whatever, to get that. But so yeah, so that was, I think, as an overview of why I'm disappointed about the cancellation, is like they took that from us and they never even gave us the like story, like the meat of the story, the point of the story, you know?
Yeah, it seems like they used the whole season for setup.
Yeah, like they could have just done like season 1 if they just did the origin story like back in the 30s. That would have been dope.
I would have been fine with that, honestly.
Yeah, like even because that would have been something we didn't even get in the comics. I would have been stoked with that, man. Like if we just got that, I'd
Like,
be good with it.
right, if they had told that story and maybe went into Skyfox,
Yeah,
in his fall kind of thing and
yeah,
becoming the villain, and then ended the season with just after that,
yeah,
kind of thing, where let's say they brought him to justice and he escapes, kind of thing,
yeah. Like
and
even
then
like
ended
that.
season 1.
Yeah, because all the other characters were super interesting. Like in the show, they get the dude in the wheelchair. Like what was his name? Like the Flair. Yeah, like he was in there. But they had like other characters, like they had in like Blue Bolt. And I don't know if he was in this. I don't remember him in the show.
I didn't
But
see
he
him.
had, yeah, like he had a cool story.
Maybe that's why I was kind of
Um,
confused. I never saw him in the show, and then while Skyfox's son had that item, I think that's why I got confused. Because when I
yeah,
saw that scene where he had it, and I know now that I'm thinking about it, when they did that kind of back scene, that past
yeah,
scene, where they show them all at the table,
yeah.
where
Oh, I guess yeah. They're all
and,
in the show, but
right,
yeah,
and then but he's Skyfox is bickering to him about like, well, how come you got the extra cool item, kind of thing.
yeah, that's right. Um, so yeah, like all those characters are super interesting, man. So like that would have been really cool. Um, to like yeah, just see the origin story, man. And even if they like sped that up a little bit, then showed them a little bit as that team, like even if it was just like the like last couple episodes, just to show them as that team and what they did. I don't know, but that would have been really cool, and I think that would have been better received, honestly, as like a casual superhero fan
Mm-hmm.
watching that on Netflix. I think that would have been a lot easier to digest and understand and like enjoy. But the jumping around, I think it just was a little too much. Like it was just a little too much going on. And I think it was a little off-putting because like the whole show, you only got like one superhero fight, when they
Right.
go after Black Star, and there's really not like a whole lot in the comic. And that's like something I found even more interesting, honestly, was like the superhero stuff, like fighting Black Star and the superpowers and the flying around and the lasers. And like, I liked how that was like a secondary
Part, yeah.
like focus. Yeah. And like, I thought that was interesting that like, as someone who wants to see action and battles and people flying and lasers, like for me to like be content and happy with like really just one little superhero fight basically in the whole season and still enjoy it as a superhero show. I thought that was like awesome, man. Like for the writers to be able to do that. Like I like when we talk about stuff, like when we got like little tangent, but like you like WandaVision and the mind, like the think like all the thinking about it and the theories, and then I
Right, speculations and
like
such.
yeah, Winter Soldier and Falcon, like because I want action. I just want to see people punch shit. Like so for me to like enjoy it and that to be the secondary focus, like man, that was gold, dude.
It was nice, and yeah, they did focus mainly around just like the interactions between each other, setting up the animosities between
Yeah,
siblings and their parents,
yeah,
and
all of those really
yeah,
good.
everyone was just gosh, it's everyone's on edge in this show. Everyone's at each other's throat.
Oh
Everyone's got some sort of issues.
yeah,
But yeah, I got to say, I am a little. I guess we can kind of try and wrap this up, but
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, overall, I feel Netflix kind of jumped the gun on this. Honestly, I think they could have
mm-hmm.
really had something if they progressed it further.
Yeah,
It was just this season was just too disjointed. There was a lot of questions raised. Production value and everything else was good. I loved the costumes. I thought it looked great.
Yeah,
Um,
I liked it. You tell it wasn't like the biggest budget in the world, but like
no,
I thought I was happy with it. You know, it wasn't
yeah,
off-putting. Like I thought it was cool.
right. I just think there just wasn't really enough for people to kind of grip onto. I think like we had talked about a little earlier, like if they had stuck with the story about them first starting off in the 20s, kind
Yeah,
of thing with the steel mill, and then
yeah,
developing that whole story where they went through and got their powers, and then continuing it with the Skyfox
yeah,
issues, where he fell and everything. If they had done that as a first season, I think it really would have hit home stronger.
yeah,
And then the next season, they could do that future jump where it's like 10 years. This is where they are now,
hmm,
kind of thing. It's fractured. They're dealing with these issues with these new generation of superheroes and villains.
yeah,
I think that would have been a lot smoother overall. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think
But
overall,
yeah,
as comic fans, we lost out.
yeah, I think so in a huge way. And but to add to that, you know, Jupiter's Requiem comic run is coming out June 16th.
Oh,
It's 12
nice.
issues long. So that's right around the corner. Was that like 10 days away?
Yeah.
Um, and as we're filming now, it's 10 days away. And so, and yeah, I'm stoked for it. I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I'm just kind of open minded to it. Like, I don't really know what to expect. I know I kind of read the summary of kind of what it's about. Like, Chloe and Hutch, they have a couple more kids.
Mm.
Like superheroes and humans are kind of in harmony, but then I don't know. It is like it says there's going to be an emphasis on like the family gets divided and turmoil begins when like quote unquote like secrets of the mysterious island begin to be revealed.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know what that means. Like I don't know or what that's going to look like. So that'll be cool just to see how the story continues. Um, yeah, just I'm open to it. I have no expectations really. There's nothing that I like particularly want
Well,
as
hopefully,
far
it's
as the
just a good
comic
story.
goes.
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
continuation.
yeah. I'm just excited. Then I just think it'll be good because like yeah, like I read Jupiter's Legacy first, loved it, thought it was really good, super fast paced, a lot of action. Then went to Jupiter's Circle, like that even more honestly. Um, and then so, yeah, so if the pattern continues, this could be the best out of this. But you know, so yeah,
Well, sounds like for people like me that haven't read the comic, I've got some time to hopefully pick it up, catch up
yeah.
on it, and then jump on this new run that's coming out here soon.
There you go. But hey, if you do anything today, if you got 10 minutes to spare, go read issue 3 of Jupiter's Legacy. And that like, that'll sum up everything I said. Like people, you'll understand. People
Well,
will understand. Just go read that issue.
well,
And
I got to read at least the first two then, right?
you can, but I'm just saying, like if you only got 10 minutes, like if you go to the bathroom and you just pull it up on your phone, read issue 3, whatever you need. At least get that one.
All
At least
right.
get that one read.
All right, all right. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and end it. I will definitely look to get that issue. Definitely, guys, let us know what you thought about Jupiter's Legacy season and the Netflix cancellation. Leave comments down below. Also, please leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please look to subscribe if you really enjoy these videos. We'd love to have you join the family and become one of our brothers and sisters in this. And until next time, guys, see you guys later.
Peace.